Hello and welcome to the ninth episode of the Fireside Chat. Yes, number 9. Today is May 24th, and we will be discussing Gridcoin as a socially responsible currency. The Fireside Chat is hosted on the Gridcoin Discord server every Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern, midnight UTC, and it is a discussion of everything Gridcoin. And if anyone has anything else they want to talk about regarding cryptocurrency, blockchain, decentralization, decentralized education, leadership, technology, or analysis, anything, come on in, let us know, and we will see what we can do about getting a show on the subject. This week we have Foxify here, who is part of the Gridcoin community, who's going to be talking, really leading the discussion about the Gridcoin as a socially responsible currency. But before we get into that, we've got some news this week. Yeah, basically we have a overview of a roadmap that was released earlier this week. It was put together by a couple core devs, and it basically just goes over all the major protocol changes that we hope to or are working on implementing. Is that the right way to say that? It goes over all the stuff we've been talking about here into the Hangouts and in the community for the past couple months, if not years. And it just lays it out on a piece of paper, or in a document, so that we have something to refer to and see how we're doing and what sort of progress we're making. It covers both protocol improvements and outreach endeavors, so like marketing and things like that, asset creation, document creation, and for the protocols, it covers like CBR, MRC, all the three-letter acronyms we've been talking about a lot. It also lets you know what is currently being worked on, what's completed, and what we need help with. So if you think you can help with anything that has a little help wanted next to it, definitely reach out. We've had a few people come forward already saying they want to help get this done or that done, and the response has been great. So yeah, definitely. There's a lot of the document creation that we need help with. Basically, we want to start pushing for some more tutorials and introduction documentation that's very solidified. We have a lot of great write-ups from community members over the past few years, but it's really scattered all over the place. So we want to maybe try and either bring all those documents into one place or work on one central sort of document. And that can be found on the Reddit or Steemit, and we're looking into being able to get it up on the website, but it is Memorial Weekend here in the US, so we're not sure if we'll be able to get that up anytime soon. And the document will also be updated as things move forward, and there are almost definitely things that we have left out, just not intentionally, just we couldn't think of it at the time. So if you think there is something that should be on there that isn't, definitely also reach out, and we'll look into getting that on the document. And then the other big news is it's not here yet, but there's been a lot of talk about the new update that is set to go live hopefully soon, trademarked. But we'll see when that comes out. You can follow it on follow progress in the testnet channel and on the GitHub. It's got a bunch of great updates. If you've been following along, you can sort of see the stuff that's been coming through. And it looks very exciting. Oh, the Charlatan says it will be out tomorrow or on the weekend. So we're gonna hold you to that there. Steal all your produce coin if it doesn't come out this weekend. But it's gonna be pretty great. We've some some stabilization improvements, some bug fixes. I think is contract forwarding going to be in this one? For Superblock creation. All right, contract forwarding is not in there. That's still being tested. I think the UI gets an overhaul. Yes. Does this one come with the new color scheme and logos and stuff?
Yeah, it does.
Awesome.
Everything's purple and stuff now.
Cool. So that'll be out over the weekend. GUI RPC build system. That's what Charlatan says. Awesome. So does anyone have anything they want to bring up about the coming update or the roadmap overview, because this is just an overview of short-term goals, mid-term goals, and long-term goals, like was discussed last week. So this isn't an actual roadmap with like year by year stuff. But does anyone have any questions or comments on these two things?
Yeah, the RPC, was there a fix on that? And is that because we're trying to get relisted back on flip.me?
The RPC, if I remember correctly, is basically just a rework by iFogs. I think he put most of the work into this. And it is meant to update everything to the more recent Bitcoin code and speed up a bunch of issues, or fix a bunch of issues and speed up a bunch of calls. The charlatan says in chat, it's a complete rework plus some fix to list transaction. And then he adds that next release will contain more stuff.
I look forward to the new GUI though. It looks really good.
Yeah, me too.
That's like it's purple and it has a new Gridcoin logo on it and everything.
They did take out the gold research rewards when you earned more than a certain amount, which kind of
makes sense. Yeah, I mean, like, there's gonna be a point like
there's no good reason for it to be in there in the first place, but
it is kind of fun, to be honest. But like, if Gridcoin becomes worth more in the future, then how are you going to get that golden reward? That's going to be hard.
Right, it'll be sad to see some of this stuff go, but at the same time, it's for the better, probably.
Yeah, it's absolutely true.
And I'll miss the green, I'll admit, and the old logo, but everything will now flow together with the new splash screen and the GUI itself.
Oh, with the old and with the new.
Charlatan, yeah. Well, you'll get your Chevy back. Don't worry about it. I promise you. I'm just using it to move my horses, and then you can get it back. If we've got nothing else to talk about with the news, we can just jump into the topic for today. So it's Gridcoin is a socially responsible currency. So Foxify, you want to just take us from here?
Yeah, I did some thinking about that. Like, Gridcoin is a socially responsible currency. What does it mean to be a responsible currency? Like, you can't. I don't think it's possible to make a perfect currency, and I think there are going to be some bumps in the road. Some people may view that as like corruption, like, and those things can be fixed over time. Like the last problem we have with the forking issue, that was fixed promptly. So when it comes to being a socially responsible currency, I think it's a matter of striving to improve yourself or what you're using, and make it better so that I'm sorry. It's easier to type this stuff out than it is to speak it out.
I hear you.
I agree.
Yeah, it's about continuing to go off what you were saying, to continue to constantly improve on the system before. So we have a currency system in place already, fiat, which built on commodity, which built on feudal, built on, we're constantly making air quotes, improving the system to make it more equitable and more quote unquote socially responsible. And I think, Gridcoin is a great step forward in this, but the blockchain itself is a step forward in social responsibility when it comes to currency, because the chain itself is just an open ledger of transactions. And when you have an open ledger of transactions, it cuts down, in theory, we haven't seen it in practice, but I think the theory is true. In theory, it cuts down the possibility of corruption. It cuts down on bureaucratic waste. It cuts out the middleman, because everyone can see where the money is going, instead of just like this one group over here that audits everyone.
Yes, I agree.
I do like the transparency aspect of Gridcoin. Some people praise the the privatization of transactions and some other currencies. But the thing with that is that knowing what's going on and knowing that the system's working properly is quite important to its well-being.
Yeah, and even if it's completely private and you don't know who the end user is, the fact that you can still see what money originated where and then where it went afterwards is, I guess, the privacy coins really take that variable out of the equation.
Well, with the upcoming technology of machine learning and trading bots, something to understand is that there's a lot of resource management that goes on in the markets, and to properly manage resources, there has to be a level of transparency there.
Absolutely. I think so. That's where social responsibility comes in, just from the base technology itself, which is the ledger aspect, which then mints a currency based on the faith of people have in the network that runs the blockchain. So people run Bitcoin mining because they think that the network is worth mining and being a part of.
Well, that's the reason why people use cash.
Absolutely, they have faith in the government.
It's the same thing. I think you have to switch your mind about like cryptocurrency and currency, like fiat. It's both currency.
Yep, and the social responsibility part of it comes in, I think, from where the currency originates. So it originates from anyone, instead of with fiat. Cryptocurrency originates from anyone, from the protocol.
Actually, with proof. Well, like I think like proof of research or proof of work, proof of stake is actually better than proof of print.
I like that, proof of print. Yeah, I agree with you. Chocolate?
Yeah, I was just gonna say regarding the transparency that you were mentioning earlier and the difference between cryptocurrencies and actual currencies. It seems like right now, especially in our current financial system, that there is an enormous amount of wealth that simply exists digitally in the fiat world. In forms of derivatives and bets on bets on mortgages, the stuff that kind of led to the 2008 crash. And it's completely dark. I mean, there's no accountability and there's no verifiability. We don't know exactly. In fact, nobody really knows how much exactly, how much wealth has been created, or quote unquote wealth has been created this way. But yeah, no, so when we talk about transparency, it seems like there is a big difference in that, regardless of the problems that cryptocurrencies have, it's whether in by nature of cryptocurrencies or simply because of human fallacy, that we do know where all of the money is. We know where all of it is. We can identify exactly where it is, and we can control it. So that presents a level of transparency that currently isn't possible with fiat.
That never has been. Yeah, I agree.
I completely agree with that. If we know the source of the problem, then people are more prepared for it in the future. It's
almost like this thing was created because there was a financial crash based on non-transparency, and they wanted to. Oh my gosh,
that's crazy talk, Ringo.
It is amazing, and it's the thing that separates. To bring it into Gridcoin a little bit. So people mine Bitcoin because they have trust in that network. They want to be part of that network, and they want the currency that protocol, that network rewards them with for helping secure it. So Bitcoin is socially responsible in the fact that it's just a blockchain. Gridcoin does something a little different, where we mint a currency and then give it out for incentive other than just securing the blockchain. We give out currency for securing the blockchain, but on top of it, we also have a large portion of the currency minted by the protocol given to people who help researchers and scientists and data analytics and people who are just mathematicians and all these people. So it's a currency that out of its creation is guaranteed to give something back to society as a whole. You cannot waste resources when you make Gridcoin, when you earn a Gridcoin. The protocol requires that people are doing research.
Can I spin off to the how our inflationary system works?
Yeah, go for it.
So part of the social responsibility of our currency is to recycle value back into the next generation of people that come about, and I think that's something that deflationary currency cannot do easily. You know, there could be somebody that hasn't been born yet today that can give a lot of value to our economy, and they need to be given an equal chance as we were when we got into cryptocurrency. And if you go ahead.
Okay. I actually have to mention that humanity always changed their currencies within time, and
That's true.
And actually, I don't believe in a currency to be there forever. I actually think there has to be switch at some point. Maybe like a currency can work for like 100 years or maybe 150 or something. But
Well,
like from some point, there has to be a switch.
Well,
The
one
average
thing
lifetime of a currency is 27.
one thing that we have to account for is that a currency could be there for a very, very long time. And how do we account for new generations of people that are brought upon within that time frame? It is possible that a new currency forms in the future does come about. It could be sooner, but you know, we have to take into account that possibility too.
Right. So in tying both your comments there, the average life of a currency is about 27 years. Of course, there are some that last much longer, and then there are a lot that die very quickly. So the median would be better to use for that example, but that is the average. And the deflationary aspect, you were talking about, Fox, about not setting up a commodity currency like Bitcoin. Bitcoin itself is a commodity currency, or just a commodity that it can be used as a currency, however you want to phrase it. And we, on the other hand, are inflationary. We're created as a currency. Currencies are meant to have an inflation rate because when you have something that is guaranteed to go up in price because of scarcity, no one wants to spend it. It doesn't operate as a currency. So there are problems with inflation, but what we do, and this is part of just blockchain in general, not Gridcoin specific, for any currency that controls inflation, is we take the inflation rate and we put it into a set of computer code that anyone can read, understand, and attempt to change. And if they don't like the change, they can fork it and make a new currency with a different inflation rate. So it's protocol-defined inflationary currency, which is pretty groundbreaking, in my opinion. Pretty cool thing that we can do. And that makes it more socially responsible because it, like you were saying, Fox, it levels the playing field over time. Although I don't necessarily fully agree with that concept, but I like it. So. It
Fair enough.
makes it so the people 20 years down the road have the equal opportunity as people right at the beginning. But at the same time, people at the beginning of anything are always better off because they're there at the start. It's riskier, but more reward.
Ringo, I was just going to say about that, the idea of allowing people to bring people who come in later still having some opportunity to catch up to the people who got in early. And we've discussed this a lot in the past regarding inequalities in crypto communities, wealth inequalities. But so the interesting thing is now we have the ability to control how can ways to even the playing field. but it's a bit complicated because we operate in an open and anonymous environment. So anybody can join, and we have no idea who that person is. And so it really yields some very interesting problems, game theoretic problems of how to structure the protocol so that you can allow new people to come in and not be so disadvantaged, but also prevent people from taking advantage of the graciousness of the existing community.
I think one way that could be mitigated would be to adjust the amount of interest and research rewards earned per with voting, like what's currently being done now with what's it called, this CBR proposal, where the top one is like 75 to 25% right now. 75% research rewards, 25% interest. And that could be changed in the future to ensure that maybe people could stake more instead of earning as much research rewards, or vice versa.
I actually think staking is a very important point for Gridcoin.
Staking is critical. Without the blockchain, there is no social responsibility part. There's no incentivizing research. So
I agree.
I also mean like the interest, just like it just naturally attracts.
Well, interest sets up a couple weird systems, but before we get there, to go to what Fox just said, we've actually spoken about this a couple times in here, and there's a paragraph at the end of the proposal, the lengthy proposal, that discusses this a little bit. It's a section on what we looked into while we were building the CBR proposal, and we looked into something that doesn't really exist in any other coin yet. It's called dynamic block reward, and essentially it builds a mechanism like you were talking about, where given the context at any moment in time, the protocol will define the economics in one way or another. So maybe the chain is under attack, or maybe just not enough people have their wallets open to contribute to securing the network. So the protocol detects this and increases the reward for mining blocks. And at that point, more people will come in because they're incentivized to mine blocks, so they'll come on. And maybe at another point in time, it realizes that there are enough people securing the network, in fact, maybe too many, in relation to researchers. So it gives more of the mint to researchers, so more people move to BOINC or come online from mining other currencies in the ecosystem, the larger blockchain ecosystem. They move from like Monero to Gridcoin because there's more profit to be had based on the context. I think that would be pretty neat, but that would take a lot of work. And what did you say?
Well, I actually think Gridcoin has a good chance to take off, like at least like the top 100 in the future. But like in general, I think if cryptocurrencies will scale, they will all scale, kind of just like we saw in the past. At first, before certain coins will really stand out, but just like Bitcoin did.
I think what is happening and it is happening is the currencies that we see today are following a specific niche. Kind of like when you see in nature, you see different species follow different niches within their environment. We fall under the niche of proof of stake, BOINC mining. Bitcoin has turned into a niche with being the first cryptocurrency and uses ASIC mining.
I don't know. I think we're a very unique niche. We are one of the only coins that has two mechanisms that distribute the currency.
As far as I know, that's true.
Yeah, there are a couple. Us, Gridcoin, Folding.
But actually, some people even in the group didn't even know that their coins are staking. someone told me he's soloing, and he did not even know that his coins are actually staking. He thought he would just get his BOINC reward every time he stakes.
It's we have a very unique on-ramp, I'd call it, where we are bringing people who don't necessarily care about blockchain tech or cryptocurrency anyway. They just like BOINC and they like science and they like being able to contribute. And we're
Yes,
bringing them into
exactly.
crypto.
That's a
And-
good niche. Yeah.
Yeah, and they don't need to buy. It's not a pay to play. They're not investing in a currency. They are literally minting a currency while they're earning a portion of the mint protocol minted currency by contributing to research. And you can pay. You can buy Gridcoin to help secure the network, or you can just on-ramp yourself by crunching with your gaming rig off, like when it's sleeping. What is your computer doing when you're asleep, sort of thing. And that's, to me, that's pretty cool. Not many currencies do that. I think there are only 3 or 4. And that is, I actually think, tied to social responsibility in a currency, because it's not saying you have to spend money to make money, although you can argue electricity and all that.
Yeah, what are the other ones? I think Steam It and
Oh, that's a good example. I wasn't even thinking that. Steam It, yeah, Gridcoin, Folding Coin, the other science coins, really. And there are going to be more coming up who are going to look to utilize CPU time.
If you look at the stock market, the fiat stock market, the companies with the highest market caps are the ones that affect the most people, and the reason why they affect the most people is because they have the most utility in their daily lives.
They create the most value.
What's that?
Another way to put that is they create the most value.
That's right. And I think is what's happening in the cryptocurrency space is that you have all these currencies with different niches, and it's so early right now and so early in the stages that we're trying to determine what is and isn't useful, and what is is going to essentially affect the most lives of the most lives of people. Sorry, I'm stuttering.
Doing great. And because it's weird, because any shift into blockchain currency will affect the lives of people no matter what, because it's improving on a system that had a lot of flaws to it. And blockchain itself has flaws to it, but it's in blockchain protocol, it's built that you can quickly create a new currency and change and fix those flaws. It's part of the definition of the technology, where the old system very difficult to change.
A very good example for that kind of is like how it's needed now in Venezuela.
Failing economies, like Greece in 2013 is a huge part of it. So there's that part of any shift in the currency system from fiat to crypto is going to benefit people. But on top of that, what are we doing that's benefiting people? And I think Gridcoin has one of the niches that's, frankly, one of the better ones. It's stemming out of volunteer open source communities. It's pushing forward. It's not built by 6 or 7 rich people who are trying to make a product that they can sell for a lot of money. And because it has volunteer roots with BOINC, it's going to be, it's almost ingrained in the ethos of the development.
It's actually one of the low market cap coins that is not a shit coin, and that's kind of rare.
I think Gridcoin has the potential to affect a lot of people. In fact, it already is in a lot of ways because of the research that's being done. Think about in the future about technology, diseases, and problems that don't even exist yet. Are we ready to stand up to those things? And what is going to be able to do that? I think Gridcoin has great potential there. Like folding proteins, for example, to understand how molecules work at microscopic scales, so that we can fix them.
I think a great example of what you're talking about is the solar energy project that BOINC ran. I don't know if it was part of Gridcoin at the time, but there will be more BOINC projects like this. BOINC is starting to really step up development. It's pretty cool to see. But the solar energy project found a new combination of molecules or something like that that increased the efficiency of solar panels by like 20% or something like that, something crazy.
Oh wow,
That was pretty cool.
So that is, if
that's
Gridcoin
insane.
was that, yeah, it was. If Gridcoin
Do you
was
have the
involved,
citation for that?
I will look it up once I'm done with this.
I'd happily post. Yeah, I'll find. If you find the citation for me, I'll give it a nice read through, and that's very much down my in my alley of research. So I'd like to see what they're up to.
Awesome. Yeah, I think they're actually starting round 2 or phase 2 of that project. It's a long-term project. But yeah, I'll look it up. But
Cool, dude. Thanks.
yeah, that tech coming from a currency, like, think about that. That is, when has there ever been a currency that increased the efficiency of solar panels by 20%? A currency that it's
That actually,
Hey, to be
it
fair,
actually made up the electricity it burned,
yeah,
or it will in the future.
we can solve
So
the energy
we
crisis.
made it efficient, right?
But it's
to be fair, it's not just Gridcoin. We also have to account for the other BOINC teams.
Of course,
well.
of course.
So
BOINC
yeah,
in general.
one day we'll get rid of the team requirement, so we'll be able to. But that social responsibility part of the currency, we as a community and we as a protocol have a responsibility to do this research that benefits the lives of a lot of people, and that
I have
is a
another
currency doing.
long-term thing. I have another long-term thing to mention. If on Bitcoin, the when the difficulty went up, it was just more electricity burned and higher hash rates and more electricity consumption. But at Gridcoin, if the difficulty rises, it actually just pays out less, but it's not less research done, it's more. It's not just wasted.
Yep. And I mean, like we said before, securing the blockchain is valuable. It's not like wasted energy with Bitcoin. It's reciprocal hashing. It's hashing itself, but it's less valuable than
But if you put such a waste in competition, you kind of get an idea where it gets, and that we are now.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just want to go back to the team requirement, removing team requirement. I do like the best of both worlds. One, considering the fact that we do have a Gridcoin team, and another that we could probably in the future support any team. I know maybe if Gridcoin becomes pretty popular in the future, we could have both. It could be like Ethereum and the Ethereum Classic. It could be like Gridcoin and Gridcoin Classic. One does the team, one does no team requirement. I don't know. What do you think?
I don't want to say anything about it. I thought about it enough.
I can only imagine.
Well, you're totally free to fork off Gridcoin yourself, right?
I think overall, just in general, I think removing the team requirement is a huge technological challenge, but would be amazing in terms of adoption and optics, because it would show that when we're here for the right reason. We don't just want to monopolize BOINC. We want to help BOINC. Snip, I just posted the solar panel thing. It's called the Clean Energy Project.
Cool, dude. Thanks.
Another thing to consider too is that we may not be the only project on BOINC in the future that uses cryptocurrency, though we have a pretty good lead on everything with the amount of points that we have.
Yeah, and we have the neural net and superblocks, which are a pretty cool way of aggregating data. So we might also expand beyond BOINC itself and use other architecture to reward people for contributing to other projects as well. So it goes both ways, but I don't know. In the end, opening it up would be pretty good.
I guess that kind of strays away from the topic here, the social responsible currency.
Good call. So we've talked about how an open ledger basically demands that cryptocurrency is a more socially responsible currency. We talked about how Gridcoin is more socially responsible than others in the ecosystem because it creates a pool of currency and then gives that to people who contribute processing power to worthwhile projects.
You know what is huge? The ability to upgrade, by far. Bitcoin has a huge hurdle to go over, which is to get over ASIC mining because they use up a lot of the voting power in that system. But every time there's a problem here, we have the ability to upgrade, get over it very quickly.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's for two reasons. One is because we're still fairly small, but the other one is because we are, as I mentioned before, we're an open source community based on volunteer concepts.
I think a very big part of that is our voting system. We're allowed to vote on the protocol more freely.
I think a big part of that is actually the community, because the Gridcoin community puts actually quite a lot of effort in comparison.
Yeah, that's true. Another thing to note, like by voting, I mean proof of stake. In the proof of work protocol, it can be manipulated with ASICs, and and that when you have too much power, it can be abused.
Yeah. All right. We just touched on three topics. So I think the voting aspect in a currency protocol is actually pretty tied into social responsibility, because it says that we're not going to have a group of people who run things and then get wealthy and disconnected from the general population.
And that goes in part.
Mhm.
That goes in part with being open-minded to new ideas.
This was why Lisk was actually so good rated recently. You guys saw the rating?
Yeah, I'm a fan of Lisk.
Lisk is a token on Ethereum, is it not?
No, it's got its own chain.
Oh, okay.
No, it's a quite complicated and complex chain.
Indeed, that's true.
Yeah, but they have other concepts. They have masternodes, I think, which are arguably less
it's
social.
delegated. It's delegated proof of stake. So you vote for what delegates you want to be staking for the network, and they are the ones that crunch, and secure the network. It's an interesting idea.
Yeah, I didn't know DPS was so widespread. Yeah. Okay, so that's one aspect of social responsibility that we have in common with Lisk. It would turn out, although they have voting tied into their block creation, but voting on the blockchain is pretty cool when it comes to social responsibility. When you guys were having a back and forth, you brought up two other points about social responsibility. Oh, I brought one up, open source part of it, saying that encouraging people to come and contribute, encouraging anyone to come and contribute and be part of it, the community, like what Mark, you were saying about having a really cool community. I think that is very much tied to having a sense of responsibility, social responsibility in the ethos. And I forget the third thing you guys were talking about. Here's a question. So would you say something like what Doge was doing in 1314 with, raising money for NASCAR, for the Jamaican bobsled team, and building a well in, I forget where's, somewhere in Africa. Is that social responsibility or is that marketing? And is there a difference?
I think it's marketing.
I think
Social responsibility should have like a long-term effect on everyone, on the whole system, and everything else that just like put some promotion on it is just marketing.
I think it's a way for Dogecoin to fill its own niche, and that maybe it's focusing on smaller tasks that would be beneficial to some people, whereas like Gridcoin, we're focusing on one very large task, and BOINC on BOINC projects.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. It's our entire system is based on improving the lives of people, or at least getting science done, which generally improves the lives of people. And versus one-time projects, which can be good, but generally are a bit targeted and with different intent. But I'm running out of ideas, guys.
It's like day trading compared to hodling.
I could go on about my opinions about smart contracts, although a lot of people may not agree.
Can you tie it to social responsibility?
Well, yeah, because one of the things that I don't like with with smart contracts is the fact that information could be stored on the blockchain indefinitely, and maybe like in an inefficient way where it's stored on many computers, right? As a one central source. Why copy something a lot of times that takes up resources? I think it'd be beneficial to copy only the things that are needed.
Okay, so the social responsibility part there is working to develop a protocol that doesn't waste resources, that looks to maximize efficiency in terms of data transmission. And
Right.
Sounds actually like a second layer solution.
And I prefer not to be like a middleman either. One thing that you have to understand with Ethereum is the fact that the Ethereum is the middleman to all the tokens, and so that the tokens have to take this extra step to do a transaction.
that is a good point.
Our type of smart contracts, I'd probably say, would be the projects on BOINC. I don't know if you can call that like a smart contract, but like different projects could arise that could be useful to everybody. Maybe that would require like on the level of machine learning.
I have another question actually. How would real world adoption for Gridcoin as a currency would look like for actually spending it?
People would start accepting it.
Well, we need to wait to spend it though first.
Right.
We had this discussion last week.
Like we can't all sit on our computers and making transactions. That doesn't work.
One thing that you have to understand is that for something to become big and to have economic power, it takes time. You have to start. In order to go big, you have to start small. And right now, Gridcoin is a
of course, but if you give people the option to adoption, they maybe take it.
I love that, the option to adoption. Yeah, I think you're right. We are still. I think that the roadmap to that sort of stuff is down the road, but it generally means we need an Android wallet, or we need to hook up with some sort of payment platform, Electrum, or
I actually think, like, imagine some kind of wallet, kind of like a smartphone, but only as a wallet to transact, as a hot wallet for cryptocurrencies.
oh, those
Maybe
are coming
that's
out.
kind of, like not like a Ledger Nano S, but like a little bit more developed.
I think there are two in the pipeline, one by a company called Siren Labs and another by Huawei.
I think one already exists, doesn't it?
I don't know about it. Do you know who makes it? Since that would be cool. The two I'm thinking of are also phones. They're phones that have cryptocurrency built into it, and they also operate on the blockchain in some magical way. I don't know. They look pretty cool, but they're still
Is one of the ones that said Sucker?
Siren Labs token. That's their crypto. They are Siren Labs, a company.
Well, everything that would replace Android would be pretty welcome for me.
Yep. Sicker cryptocurrency wallet.
I'm trying to wrap my head around the advantages of having a cryptocurrency tied to a phone. Like, is it centralized around the phone?
I would say like the wallet as a separated device.
But then you carry
Maybe-
around.
Yeah, but just like kind of like maybe like a watch or something.
That would be cool. Or just an RFID chip somewhere in your foot or something.
But they are not safe enough.
Your foot.
We're getting off topic. We'll talk about
We're
this
really
later.
Again.
It's social responsibility in a currency. I don't know. I think we covered a lot of it. We covered about the technology of the blockchain, the incentives of the currency, Gridcoin.
I actually want to mention another part. The free to participate part of it is
That's
quite
okay.
important for the less wealthy parts on this planet. Actually, I think about like everyone with internet connection in Africa with like low income, or everywhere actually in
Sure.
third world, how it's used to say.
Yep, I agree with you. And the one of the big difference between us and ERC20 tokens that are doing the same sort of concept, where you lend your computing power for rendering tasks or computationally intensive tasks, and you get rewarded with your token, is that we reward for BOINC. And BOINC is free to play. You have to cover the cost of setting up your server and running security for it, which relative to renting a supercomputer or buying a whole bunch of Golem is very inexpensive. And first of all, no hate towards Golem at all. I think what they're doing is pretty cool, very ambitious, but it is very different than what we're doing because we have this free to play model, which is beneficial to scientists and researchers who aren't backed by institutions, who don't get grant money to get their research off the ground. And a lot of the times it's these underfunded researchers that come up with really cool developments and findings. So I think it's going to be important moving forward to maintain that aspect of our protocol and our currency. Even if we decide to expand outside of BOINC, I think we should always have a way I think it's our social responsibility to maintain a way for underfunded researchers to get their data hashed, get their data crunched, because there's going to be more and more data coming up, and it's almost inevitable that almost all science is going to require.
Well, as long as more people are starting to crunch, that's fine, right?
I think the key difference there is they're focusing on people who might need computational resources for stuff like rendering like movies or game projects and stuff like that, where we're focused on things that are key to discovering new things, and that simply that people aren't often interested in a sense. Like, I'm not interested. I mean, like we're focusing on two different, like that currency focuses on something different than we do.
To steal a phrase from Snip, you're saying that they're working on the sexy and we're working on the unsexy.
Yeah, there we go.
I'll take
Well,
it.
that's part of a problem. I actually think like Gridcoin is a coin that could actually really need some more promotion and actually even some I don't get the word. Damn it. Um,
I
yeah,
think
promotion basically.
I think promotion would just happen naturally once the currency becomes more popular. Yeah, you want to know how I
Well,
found out about Gridcoin?
well, to be honest, that's a huge mistake to think because look at Verge.
I don't want to look at Verge.
Yeah, that's the point. That's the point. Verge is actually at the market cap. It just surpassed. No. Before it almost surpassed Monero. Think
Right.
about that, and it's just
Well,
marketing. Yeah, marketing was the word I was looking for. Yeah, thanks.
I
Yeah,
think
when,
Go ahead.
when you have the likes of Dogcoin guys, come on.
Yeah, Verge is forked of a joke to pay porn.
I think marketing is an important aspect.
That makes sense, right?
Yeah. I think focusing on the protocol first and the ethos first is very important. And we do have on the roadmap outreach goals for midterm. Like we do want to build some marketing initiatives. We need help. So standard shout out to anyone who wants to help. Find us on Discord or Slack. Come join in the fun. We're building stuff. We're making things happen. We're sharing memes. But we are straying away from the subject again. So we've got about 5-10 minutes left. I think a good way to sort of close this out is to actually look at the white paper that just came out recently, which was approved overwhelmingly by the community, including Rob voting for it. And one of the last sections of the white paper says what we as a community value. And it goes through the open movements, open access, open source, open data. Actually, I don't think it says, I forget all four. Open education. It goes through these. And I think those are socially responsible movements. And to have them in sort of the codified, this is what we are document is, I think, a pretty big step. I don't see that in a lot of white papers describing like what they believe in as a currency or as a community. And I think, I know Chocolate has talked about this a little before about open data in particular, or AI that is controlled by a centralized entity. When you have that, it's a little more dangerous. When you have a central source of data collection and analysis, it's fairly dangerous compared to having it decentralized and having anyone be able to access the data or the code that runs everything or the educational resources that helped everyone learn this stuff. So I think that's a big part of our community and its social responsibility moving forward as well. Sorry, that was a long rant. Does anyone have anything else they would want to wrap this up with?
Yeah, so I think as a currency, we have something that is going to probably influence a lot of people in the future, and I'm really excited to see how Gridcoin evolves.
What I like about Gridcoin is actually that what I see is that people who come to Gridcoin are likely to stay with Gridcoin, and that shows me that it has some serious long-term value.
Absolutely, and it's because most people, at least who we're connecting with right now, connect to the values that we project, that we put out there and support, and our protocol, which is incentivizes making the world a better place for everyone, which is pretty cool in my mind. But if no one has anything else to add, we can wrap this up. All right. Thank you everyone for joining. I did forget to announce the host today, but I am Jay Ringo. It's hosted by Gollum Popper, who's not with us this week, and I like chocolate as always. And we were joined by Foxify, who helped us help lead the discussion today. So join us every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern, midnight UTC here in the Gridcoin Discord. And just like today, if you want to lead a discussion on anything, feel free to reach out to me, Goblin, or Chocolate, and we will do our best to fit you into the schedule. We have a whole list of topics for moving forward, but we don't know what we're doing next week quite yet. So keep an eye out for that post. Oh, and happy birthday, man. Glad to have shared it with you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that post will be up probably early next week sometime. And yeah, unless anyone has anything to say. Well,
Thanks for having me on.
Definitely, dude. Anytime. But yeah, we'll see y'all next week. Have a great long weekend if you're in the US. Otherwise, have a great normal weekend. Ha ha ha.